Right now, while you are reading this, the ceiling over your head is quietly cooking you. The sun is beating down on your roof, and that roof is soaking the heat in, and the attic just above your ceiling may be well past 130 degrees, hotter than a summer day in the desert, sitting right over your head. And here is the cruel part. It does not stop when the sun goes down. That hot ceiling keeps radiating heat down into your rooms for hours into the night, long after you have closed the blinds and gone to bed. You have been paying a machine to fight that ceiling every summer of your life. On my island, the ceiling never cooked anyone, and it costs nothing to keep that way. No air conditioner running all night, no 5-figure roof, no monthly bill. Just a roof washed white with lime, and a way for the hot air to get out. Lime and air. That is the whole thing. That is the whole title, and it worked in a sun far harder than yours. I thought, for most of my life, that summer heat came in through the windows. It does not. Or at least, most of it does not. Most of it comes down, through the top of the house, through the ceiling right over your head. Before this is over, I am going to show you exactly how to stop your ceiling from cooking you, how to reflect it, how to vent it, and how to insulate it, and the one mistake that traps all the heat inside and makes the whole thing worse. And I will tell you what quietly replaced the old reflective, breathing roof and why. This works on the house you already own, and a renter can do part of it. Let me start with the number that should make you angry. Think about where the heat in your house actually comes from on a hot day. Not the walls, really. The walls stand straight up, so the sun only ever glances across them, and half of them are shaded half the day. The windows let some in, and that matters. But there is one surface on your whole house that takes the full, straight, all-day beating of the sun, with nothing to shade it and nothing to soften it, the roof. The sun sits over your roof through the entire middle of the day, pouring straight down, and a dark roof. And most roofs are dark. Drinks that in like a cast iron pan left on a burner. The shingles themselves can reach 150, even 160 degrees on a hard afternoon. All of that heat soaks down into the attic, that closed, airless space just above your ceiling, and turns it into an oven. By many measures, an attic on a summer afternoon runs well past 130 degrees. There is a desert sitting over your bedroom, and you cannot even see it. Now, heat always moves toward cool. So that superheated attic does the only thing it can do. It presses its heat downward, through your ceiling, into the rooms where you actually live. Your ceiling becomes a giant, low radiator, glowing warmth down onto you all evening. You can feel it if you hold your hand up near the ceiling on a hot night. It is warmer up there than down by the floor, every single time. And what do you do about it? You run the air conditioner. All evening, all night, the machine hums and burns power, fighting the heat that is pouring down out of your own ceiling. You are, quite literally, air conditioning your house against its own roof. And the machine never wins cleanly, because the ceiling never stops feeding it heat. It just runs, and the meter spins, and you pay. That is the number that should make you angry. Not only the electricity. The fact that most of what your air conditioner fights all summer long is heat you let in through the top of your house and never had to. Think of it this way. On a hot afternoon, a large share of the heat that gets into a typical house comes straight down from the roof and the attic. More than from any single window, more than from any wall. It is the biggest door heat walks through, and it is the one nobody thinks to close, because it is up over your head where you never look. You have been leaving the biggest door in the house wide open and running a machine every night to make up for it. Let me take you to the island and show you a ceiling that does not cook anybody. Cape Verde is a scatter of volcanic islands out in the Atlantic, off the coast of West Africa, and the sun there is not the mild sun, you know. It is the open ocean, no shade, near the equator sun, the kind that cracks leather and fades a painted door in a single season. And in the old villages there was no electricity, so there was no machine to run against the heat. If the house cooked you, you cooked. So the houses were built very carefully not to. The first thing you would notice walking into a village at noon is that the houses are blinding white. Every house is washed with lime, a coat we call caaseo, a lime wash, brushed on until the walls, and often the roofs, are as white as they can be made. And that white is not for beauty, though it is beautiful. That white is the first and most important defense. A white surface throws the sun back before it can ever turn into heat, the way a mirror throws back light. My grandfather re-whitened his house every single year before the hot season came, the way you might change the oil in a car. A small yearly job that kept the whole house cool for months. Before the heat came, the whole village would go white together. Fathers and sons up on ladders with buckets of lime and wide brushes, and for a few days the streets smelled of wet lime and the houses shone so bright you had to squint to look at them. It was not a chore anyone resented, because everyone understood exactly what that white coat bought them. A cool house through the worst of the sun, for the price of a bucket and an afternoon. The second thing is that the rooms are tall, the ceilings are high, and the roof is built to let the hot air leave. Hot air rises, so you give it somewhere to go. In town, on the island of São Vicente, some of the roofs even carried a dome. And that dome was not decoration either. It pulled the hottest air straight up and out the very top of the building, so the house breathed the heat out on its own. Whatever heat did get in did not sit trapped over people's heads. It rose and it left. Put those two together, a white roof that reflects, and a way for the hot air to escape, and you get a ceiling that stays cool through a sun that would flatten you. You can step into one of those stone houses in the middle of a hard afternoon, look up, and the ceiling above you is cool and quiet and still. Not a machine anywhere, not a wire, just lime and air. Now understand what that means for your house. The sun on my island is far harder than the sun on yours. If a coat of white lime and a vent at the top could hold that sun off a family with no power and no money, then your attic, under your milder sun, with every modern material you can buy, is an easy problem to solve. You are not missing some expensive secret. You are missing a white roof and a way for the heat to get out. Back home, we did not fight the ceiling with a machine. We just never let it turn into a radiator in the first place. So here is the clever part, and once you see it, you will never look at your roof the same way again. The whole problem is a chain, and you can break it in 3 places. It starts with sunlight hitting your roof. A dark roof absorbs that sunlight and turns it into heat. That is step 1. The heat builds up in the sealed attic until it is an oven. That is step 2. And the hot attic radiates that heat down through your ceiling into your rooms. That is step 3. Break any one of those, and the ceiling cools. Break all 3, and it is over. You break step 1 with reflection. A white or reflective roof throws most of the sunlight back at the sky before it ever becomes heat at all. This is the lime. It is the cheapest and the most powerful move because it stops the heat at the very start before it can get into anything. The color of a roof sitting in full sun can change its temperature by tens of degrees. White stays cool. Dark cooks. You can prove it to yourself on any summer day. Lay your hand on a black car and then on a white one parked beside it, and the black one will burn you while the white one is merely warm. Same sun, same street, tens of degrees of difference. And that is the difference between a roof that cooks you and one that does not. You break step 2 with air. An attic becomes an oven because the hot air has nowhere to go. It is a sealed box baking in the sun. Give it a vent down low and a vent up high, and the hot air rises and escapes out the top while cooler air is drawn in below, and the attic breathes instead of baking. This is the air. This is the São Vicente dome in a form you can buy at any hardware store. And you break step 3 with a blanket. Insulation across your attic floor, right above the ceiling. is a barrier that stops whatever heat is left in the attic from radiating down into your rooms. And it works in both directions, which is exactly why the same blanket that keeps the summer heat out keeps the winter warmth in. Here's the whole thing in one line. A dark, sealed, uninsulated roof is a frying pan bolted over your head with the burner on. Paint it white, cut it a vent, and lay a blanket under it, and you have turned off the burner, opened the window, and put a lid between you and the heat. Reflect it, vent it, block it. That is the entire system. And now let me show you how to buy each piece. There are 4 moves, and you can do them one at a time, cheapest and highest impact first. Move 1 is reflect the roof, and it is the biggest lever there is. There are white, reflective coatings made for roofs, a cool roof coating, sold by the bucket at any hardware store, and you roll or spray them on like a thick paint. Check the label for coverage. As a rough guide, a bucket does a few hundred square feet. And let me stop and say this plainly, because it matters more than any saving. A roof is a dangerous place. On a low or flat roof, you may do this yourself with real care. On a steep or high one, this is a job for someone with the right safety gear, or a professional. No video is worth a fall. If a full coating is more than you want to take on, simply choosing a light-colored roof the next time you replace it, instead of the standard black, does much of the same work for the same money. Light throws the sun back. Dark drinks it in. You get to choose which one sits over your head. Move 2 is vent the attic, the air in the title. Most attics are starved of airflow, and that is exactly why they bake. You want vents low down at the eaves. Those are called soffit vents, and vents high up at the ridge so that the hot air rises and escapes out the top while cooler air is pulled in at the bottom. That cross flow lets the attic breathe instead of trapping the oven right over your ceiling. A powered attic fan, or a solar-powered one, does the same job with more force and almost nothing to run it. Giving that trapped heat a door at the top is the single most overlooked fix in the whole house. Move 3 is insulate the ceiling, the blanket. Insulation laid across your attic floor, right above the ceiling, is the barrier that stops the attic's heat from radiating down into your rooms. This is the most common thing missing from a house. A great many homes have far too little of it, or none at all. And here is the bonus that makes it the easiest decision of the 4. That same insulation that keeps the summer heat out of your rooms keeps the winter warmth in, so it pays you back twice a year, every year, for as long as you own the house. Move 4, for anyone who wants to go all the way, is a radiant barrier. A reflective foil layer put up under the roof deck, on the underside of the roof, inside the attic. Where insulation slows the heat, a radiant barrier reflects it. It bounces the roof's radiant heat back up before it can even reach your insulation. In a hot, sunny climate, it can take a real bite out of an attic's temperature. It is the most involved of the 4, but it is the finishing touch. And notice that these 4 are not one big purchase you have to dread. They are a ladder you climb one rung at a time. Coat or lighten the roof this year. Add the vents next. Top up the insulation when you can. And if you live somewhere truly hot, add the radiant barrier last of all. Every rung you climb, the ceiling gets a little cooler and the machine runs a little less. And you feel the difference in the very next power bill. Now the mistakes, because this is where people spend money and still cook. The first, and the biggest, is insulating without venting. If you lay a thick blanket of insulation but leave the attic sealed and airless, you have simply trapped the oven. The heat still builds. It just takes a little longer to press through the blanket. You need the vent and the blanket together. Let the heat out and block whatever is left. One without the other is only half a job. The second is keeping a dark roof and trying to fix everything downstream of it with the air conditioner. You are treating the symptom and paying for it forever. Reflect the roof first. It is the cause. And the third I have already said, but I will say it again because it matters more than any bill. A roof and an attic are dangerous places to work. Use proper safety or hire it out. This is the principle and the plan. It is not an order to climb up there this afternoon. Add it up. a bucket of reflective coating, a set of vents, a blanket of insulation. A few $100 to a few $1,000, most of it spent once, and most of it paying you back every season, against a 5-figure machine running all summer, fighting a ceiling it can never beat. That is the trade. So if a reflective, breathing roof kept houses cool for centuries, what happened? Why is everyone you know now cooling their house against their own ceiling? Nobody outlawed the white roof. Nobody proved the vent wrong. They were replaced. Quietly, the way most good things are replaced. Through the last century, cheap electricity arrived, and the air conditioner arrived, and the standard dark asphalt shingle became the cheap default on every new house. And once you could just buy a machine to chill the air, the reasons to build a roof that reflected and breathed slowly fell away. Why whitewash every year? Why fuss over vents when you can flip a switch? So the roof quietly stopped doing its job, and the machine took over, and started sending you a bill every month to do what the roof used to do for nothing. Not banned, not disproven, just replaced by a dark roof that cooks and a machine that fights it and a bill that never ends. Now the objections, because I have heard them. All, I have a finished ceiling or no attic I can get into, you say. Then you work from the outside and the top. A reflective roof coating stops the heat before it ever gets in, and it does not care whether you have an attic underneath. Reflect the roof, and you have solved most of it without ever going inside. I rent, you say. I cannot touch the roof. You cannot, but you are not helpless. If you can get into the attic, a little insulation is cheap, and even if you leave it behind, it helps you now. A ceiling fan moves the hot air off your skin. And tell your landlord the plain truth, that venting the attic and coating the roof would cut the cooling bills and protect the roof itself from cooking. That last part is what they actually care about, and it happens to be true. My climate is cold, you say, not hot. Then you get the winter half of the deal for free. The insulation and the well-managed attic that keep the summer heat out are the very same things that hold your winter warmth in. You win in July, and you win again in January. And one more that always comes up. Does the white coating not just wear off? It does, slowly, over some years. The very same way my grandfather's lime faded, and he simply brushed on a fresh coat before the hot season came round again. That is the honest truth of it. This is maintenance, not magic. A small job every few years, instead of a machine running every single night. I know which of the two I would rather sign up for. So stand under your ceiling with me one more time. Put your hand up near it on the next hot evening and feel how warm it is. That warmth is the sun from 6 hours ago, still pressing down on you, out of an attic you were never taught to fix. Your ceiling was never meant to cook you. A roof was meant to turn the sun away and let the heat out, to reflect and to breathe. And it did exactly that, for free, for centuries, in suns far harder than yours, long before anyone sold you a machine to fight it. It still does it, in white, on my island, right now. You do not need to move to the tropics to have it. You need a lighter roof, a vent at the top, and a blanket underneath. And your ceiling stops being a radiator and goes back to being just a ceiling. And the strange thing is how quiet it is when it works. No hum, no vents blowing on your neck, no meter racing down in the basement, just a room that stays cool because the heat never got in, the way my grandfathers did, the way a house was always meant to. Do one thing for me before you go. Go and put your hand on your ceiling on a hot evening and come back and tell me in the comments how warm it is. I want to see, room by room, how many of you have been sleeping under a frying pan and calling it normal. If you are done paying a machine to fight your own roof, then you already know what to do. Subscribe, because next time I am going to show you how an island that barely gets a drop of rain and has no rivers at all still grows its own food in nothing but black volcanic ash on the side of a mountain that smokes. The garden store will not tell you that one either. There is a reason, and I will show you.